morning, everybody, and welcome to today's From Boxes to Butterflies. We're in for, it's going to be a great show. I absolutely love who I've got on, and the way this weekend has been, there's basically only two people I would want on today, and CJ's one, and he's the other. So this is going to be, it's going to be a good show. And as I talk about that, as I always do, I want to start with check in on those around you. See how they're doing, and just because somebody is smiling does not mean that they're doing well. There's been too many things going on, and I'll go into some of that later. But I'm right now just thinking of like one of my dear sisters who they had a health issue in their family, and it impacts the income, it impacts their life. And so often when something like that happens, somebody loses a job, they have a medical issue, whatever it is, we are often there to help right away. Yet when it comes to 2 weeks later, 4 weeks later, because they're still going through it, but everybody else kind of disappears. So I just want this to be that call to check on those around you, especially those that you know they've been through something has gone on in their life. Don't think that just because a couple months have gone by and they're looking good, that they're necessarily doing good. Be there for them. I love to highlight my sponsors, beginning with my dear sisters, Dr. Constance Leland with Level Up Academy. Leveling up, she's the Netflix of education, leveling up the world through education. And we do so many things together. But one of the things I really want everybody to be aware of is her ability to help you with promotions, with publicity. There's a reason why she's the publicity queen. And some publicity is free, some of it costs. So premium magazines. She was able to get me into premium magazines. It did cost me money, but it didn't cost me what the normal rate was. She's able to find a discount. She's able to help make it a better deal. So if you've got something you're ready to promote, you want to talk about, you want to get it out there, then please connect with CJ, connect with Dr. Constance Leland, go to Level Up Academy. And if you're having difficulties trying to tell her what you want, tell her I sent you. And just say, hey, I've got this going on. I really want to do it, because you never know. She may get you into premium magazines and more. It all depends on that story. And then there's the Hounds of Business. So a great community of people that they really do, as CJ says, collaboration over competition. That's where everything's at. In the Hounds of Business, that's what they look at doing. It's collaboration. It's how do you lift everybody up? And if you have questions on it, please look up Mike Ashebrainer. You can find Mike Ashebrainer. You can find Hounds of Business on LinkedIn. It's a great place to go. Going back to CJ a little bit, she is now starting to put out the 50 inspirational videos. The first ones came out last Friday. Go to her YouTube channel, and they're there. Inspirational stories of people that have been through something, and it's their chance to say why they're there, how they got started in business, what's their why, who are they helping, what is it? And the stories, when you start listening to them, they're amazing. And then I want to talk about real quick, it's coming up. It will be coming out next month. We're in the writing phase of Rebel with a Cause. What does it mean to rebel against what society tells us to do, what others have told us to do. How do you step in and do something? Try to change the system. This is Rebel with a Cause. And there's going to be amazing stories coming out. And this book, even now, it's going through its own transitions, own transformation because of things that have happened recently. We also have a book club going on. So this is a monthly book club. And each month, we're going to provide a class. This past month, the class was focused on what's the book club, what's happening, and some ideas. And then these are going to be classes that are focused on helping you write, whether it's for an anthology, whether it's for your own book. There'll be classes on storytelling, on writing, on marketing, on publishing. Between CJ and I, we're going to have a lot of information out there to help you level up your writing and what you want to do. And again, this is all through Level Up Academy. CJ's such a driving force. I just feel so blessed to be able to work with her and call her sister and be business partners on this. And last, because of everything that's going on, and I know we're going to talk about this on and off, it's just taking a moment for the loss of our dear friend. This is something that it's hit many of us really hard. And you're going to hear shaky voices as people think about her. Jess was in Beyond Boundaries, thriving in life's gray zone. She was the definition of thriving in life's gray zone with her story, with what she wrote. And she was going to be in Rebel with a Cause because that dear girl, that celestial star, is a rebel with a cause. So it's been really tough, but everybody that's come together, it's just remembering Jess as the star that she was. And so with that, I'm just going to dive in and bring up Harsha. Hi, Harsha.
Hi there.
It's going to be it's going to be a good day. We're going to have a good day.
Yes, of course.
Because you were in the first book with Jess.
Yes, I was, and I had a chance to connect with her personally afterward as well, which is one of the benefits of what you and Dr. Leland do. You bring communities of people together, and I couldn't be more grateful for the wonderful humans that I've met. But yes, Jess and I did, we met, we connected, we talked, we've stayed in touch actually very closely over the last many months. So obviously, like you and like everybody else, I'm heartbroken, very distraught, and I was in disbelief over the news that we all found out this weekend. And I thought long and hard about it. As difficult as it is, I think what Jess would have wanted is for her legacy or her lasting memory to be something positive, something positive to come out of this, finding ways to move forward, finding ways to heal, self-care, healthcare, focus, wellness, the things that we all know and we talk about and we discuss on a regular basis inside our circles. I think more than ever, it's important to really be mindful and aware of these things. I think prioritizing your own health and wellness has to be paramount. You are no good to yourself or anybody else if you're not doing well. So I wouldn't call it selfish like some people do when they like to worry about everybody else before themselves. I think a good lesson from this is you are more of use inside your own world and everybody else's when you're at the top of your game. So prioritizing your health is just it's non-negotiable at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And CJ is right. Focus on her memory, and that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
But today too, it's having you on, and it was great to, for me, it was great to both be the one to edit your chapter in Beyond Boundaries, and then when CJ was able to set up the book signing at Borders, to actually meet you in person.
Yeah. It was
So
wonderful.
it was great. I loved how everybody, we had 6 authors there. There were a lot of people that showed up. It was a great time, and it was great to see and be able to hug everybody.
Yes.
We've
Yeah.
known for so long, but never got to meet.
Right, right. It was a wonderful experience. It was so nice. The energy was just so good in the room also. Just another proof positive point that, it was the right project with the right people. It was so good to be in that atmosphere and to talk and to laugh and to reminisce and commiserate is always nice. So I very much cherish that experience.
I'm thinking about everybody who was there, and the thought went through my mind, okay, let's see. You and Jacqueline and CJ are all in San Diego.
Yeah, yeah.
And Danielle's in Sacramento.
Mhm.
Now I'm wondering who went the farthest, me or Kinga? I'm coming from Portland and Kinga's coming from Texas.
Yeah.
I'm kind of guessing she probably wins on that one.
She did have just a slight bit farther to travel than
I'm thinking that's probably the case, unless she was in West Texas.
possibly. Yeah. It was great to see all of you though. It was really, really nice experience.
I wanna talk more about you and get a chance for you to let everybody know who is Harsha. What have you done? Because you have so much in your own story.
Thank you. Thank you for the platform. First of all, Susanna, this is always nice to, share what I am about and what I do and what my passions are. And thank you for dubbing me a transformational coach. I appreciate that very much. That's actually the goal. So my background, I've got nearly a quarter century experience in martial arts. I'm a 9th generation Sifu in Shaolin Kung Fu and Yang style Tai Chi. I'd been training this since I was a teenager. And that really is where my transformation started. As you well know, and anyone else who's read the book, but for those who don't, I had a very tough upbringing. It was a violent household. There was no empowerment. There was no confidence. There was no one to advocate for me other than my own mother, who did the absolute best she could with myself and my 2 younger brothers. But what I'm grateful for is she raised us with a lot of strength and tenacity, considering what we had all gone through. And so when I went to college, I came to San Diego for college, and I found my teacher, my mentor, Master Ming Lao. And I found the organization that I was going to be a part of for the next 20 years, White Dragon Martial Arts, founded by Master Nathan Fisher, who's one of the highest level experts in Kung Fu and Tai Chi. And the top student of the Grand Master of the entire Plum Blossom Federation, Doc Fai Wong. So a very extensive lineage we have, and so all my training came from those teachers. And so it wasn't just learning how to punch and kick. There were a lot of values that went with it, right? Like developing your abilities, having a positive attitude, respect, discipline, responsibility, humility. I can go on and on. Master Fisher was very meticulous with the way he trained us. He trained us from the mind first to the body next, whereas in martial arts, most people train the body first. And so I think that's where a lot of my transformation, a lot of my my growth and development happened. I loved it so much that, instead of going to medical school or law school, which was always the plan in the family, I decided I wanted to do this. I wanted to coach people. I wanted to help people. I wanted to empower people the way I was given the opportunity, because it really turned me from a boy to a man in just a few short years. I went from a teenager to a young adult, but there was so much more growth. So that's really what my passion became. And I worked in White Dragon. I ran one of the largest and most successful locations in the South Bay of San Diego. Worked with many trainers and students both here and abroad. So I've had extensive international experience, but long story short, in the recent months, I decided I wanted to, take a step away from there and really start my own thing and do things my own way a little bit more. I think when it comes to holistic health, right, it's not just about the body. It's not just about how you're taking care of your body. I think it starts with your brain, it starts with your mind. Wellness is about making sure that internally everything is working together perfectly. When your mind is on board, your body can achieve anything. So that's kind of been my passion project, is helping people develop the flow state, so we call it, and that's why I started UFlow Fitness. I work with my clients on really just kind of helping revamp them from the inside out. And there are just several ways to do that. Everybody has a slightly different need. So it's about figuring out what that is and what buttons to push and how to get the most amount, maximize somebody's capabilities, potential, and performance with the knowledge that I have. So it's been absolutely fun. It's been incredible. I've met amazing human beings like yourself and CJ and Jess and so many others along the way in just a few short months. I've met more incredible people in just these last few months than I would say in the last few years. So it's been just an incredible ride for me.
I love that. Let me take a quick side trip.
Yeah.
Did you say you said Shaolin Kung Fu?
Yes. Yeah.
Where does that fit within everything?
Great question. So the Shaolin martial arts start centuries and centuries and centuries ago. There's a lot of conversation, even disagreement about its actual origins. But one of the more famous origins is that there was an Indian monk named Bodhidharma who crossed over from India to China and noticed that a lot of the Buddhist monks in the temples, who they didn't have a lot of strength, physical and mental. They couldn't even meditate for long periods of time. They were falling over. They couldn't. So he would construct exercises and stretches and eventually a system of martial arts to help defend the temple from robbers and those types. But that's kind of a commonly accepted view of the origins of Shaolin. But a lot of the martial arts, the fundamental values come from Buddhist principles. So I want to be very clear about something. The martial arts as we train it today is not a religious thing,
Right.
but it is connected with the Buddhist philosophy. And so a lot of those values, right, of being mindful about taking care of your body, taking care of your mind, taking care of each other, protecting what's yours, protecting those that cannot protect themselves. All of those things, come from the Buddhist philosophy. So that's kind of the origin of it. And if you've ever heard those ancient if you've heard a proverb, one of those ancient proverbs, chances are it probably has some tie to the Buddhist philosophy. So that would be its origin. And of course, these are systems of self-defense that were used over centuries to help protect individuals, mostly farmers, who couldn't really defend themselves against, the noble classes.
Right.
They learned how to protect themselves using the simple martial science, so to speak. So I learned just so much over the years, and I'm so grateful for the knowledge I have and for the knowledge that I get to pass to people. But also, when you really break it down, it's a scientific movement. It's movement, and movement is good for your body, and it's good for your brain. It's good for your health. So the more we move, the more we get to move longer later in life.
Yeah, because part of the reason too is when you said it, it just reminded me of a time. I want to say it's been about 7 years, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I actually got to go to one of, if not where it started, because I think it was in Hunan province.
Okay, yeah.
So I had that opportunity to actually go and walk through
Wonderful.
the place. So
It's incredible, right? It's
and of
amazing.
course, walking through it, I mean, you're thinking Bruce Lee, and
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if you know if they've done that or not. It's like you're gonna think of whichever martial artists you
Yeah.
think of as you're walking through. So
It's like a portal in time. If anyone ever gets a chance to visit China or the Shaolin temples, or it's like you're walking into a different portal, into a different century, into a different dimension.
it is.
I talk about this on my social media. Actually, traveling is so good for your health. Going to different places with different values, different cultures, different people, learning different, having your brain have to adapt to different things, and it's a unique experience. It's so good. It opens up the mind completely. It opens up your creative juices. It forces you to think and work a little bit from a mental standpoint, and that allows your brain to function longer. So I recommend it to everybody. If you're into this stuff, if you're into martial arts and you want to go see where the origins and all, go to China, book a trip and check out the Shaolin temples and the culture, the people. It's out of this world.
And if in terms of going there, there's just so many different places because I've
Yeah,
seen it from east to west basically, and you can't. It's like the U.S. You can't go in one spot and think you've seen what
right.
everybody's like. You might be able to do that in Europe someplace, but not here.
No, definitely not.
But yeah, as you now you told me earlier that you're making some changes too in terms of how you're focusing. Do you want to talk a bit
Yeah.
more about that?
Right. So when I worked at White Dragon, and the experience was everything to me, and still is, we really focused on the training aspect, the physical training and how it connects with the mental mind. And what I wanted to evolve from there, because I think it's always important that we take what we know and we try to find the next, evolutionary plane. So I did a lot of work and a lot of research and a lot of thinking over the last few years, especially post COVID, when depression was at all-time highs. You could just see it. People were falling apart. On average, people were gaining 40 plus pounds and their mental health was declining, and they were, getting addicted to social media and what their perception of a perfect body is supposed to look like, and so on and so forth. It's amazing how detrimental these things can be if you're looking in the wrong places. So I wanted to start something that really focused more from the internal, going external. As I'd mentioned, I'm also a Sifu in the Tai Chi system, which is essentially meditation and motion. It's a flowing, continuous, beautiful art, so good for the brain, so good for the body, increases longevity, but it has like a lot of abstract values as well. And everything I researched and everything I learned really brought me down to these simple pillars. To be at your best, you have to take care of your diet, you have to exercise, you have to rest and hydrate. You have to have a strong community of people that you can lean on and that can lean on you. And you have to have a positive outlook. Those are the 5 pillars. It's as simple as that, but there's complexity inside that simplicity. Making sure that you are at the top of your game in all 5 of those pillars at the same time can be very, very challenging. So I try to help people find their peak potential and performance in those different pillars. A lot of people think it's just, diet and exercise. Well, those are 2 of the pillars. You have to rest. Rest is equally as important. And most people do not sleep the amount of time that they need to sleep. And I would be lying to you if I told you I always slept 7 or 8 hours. That's not true. I'm human, and I also lose sleep from time to time. I also get stressed. I'm also anxious. So for anyone out there who thinks, oh, these coaches, they know so much and wow, they've got it together. I promise you 2 things. We don't have it together all the way. We're figuring it out too. And also coaches need coaches. I'm so lucky to have teachers and coaches that I still get to talk to, and I still get to pick their brains, and I still get to, run ideas by them because they have a lot of wisdom. They came before me and they know so much more. So remember that if you're a coach too, yes, coaches need coaches. And if you're a client who really enjoys their coach, just know that your coach is also learning and developing. That's probably why you're making the most gains. So those 5 pillars became my priority. If we can master those 5 pillars, I think we can master our mind, we can master our body. You lead a long, successful, and satisfied life.
Well, and I love these pillars, and I like what you're talking about because as you were talking about the Tai Chi, and then you go into the pillars, the thing that came across my mind, and I'm sure a lot of people have this issue, is it's like, I want to do this stuff. I think about doing this stuff, but then feels like it's time consuming.
Yeah.
There's that, if I slowed down and I had a father-in-law who knew all that. I mean, I would watch him and he would be as slow as it's like we're in a world that is so fast paced. You have to do this, you have to do this, you have to go to the next thing, that to slow down tends to be scrolling in social media
Mm-hmm.
or just going to bed and not taking that moment to do something like Tai Chi, to be methodical, to focus on where you're going. Or I've done Vipassana too. And it is not exactly a fast thing when you're supposed to feel from head to toe every part of the body.
Right. Yes. So thank you for bringing that up. Tai Chi is practiced slowly because you have to control, your mind has to be in control and coordinate several different things happening in the body at the same time, which is why it's so good for the brain and the body. Coordinating one or two things is the most people are capable of just right off the bat. But with training, you'd be amazed, being able to get to 7, 8, 9 things at the same time. And when your brain wraps itself around the idea that you're capable of that, it's such a great feeling. We like doing things we're good at. Those are the things we tend to do more. We don't like doing the things that we're not good at. We tend to ignore those. But what I tell all my clients and anybody I work with, all my students, the things that you're not good at are the things that require focus. But I thought about it and I knew that that's just not going to motivate people, right? We're still humans. And at the end of the day, we're going to do what we're going to do, what we want to do. So my system when I work with people, I tell them all the same thing. If you have 10 to 15 minutes a day for me, I can show you life-changing effects. Just you'll notice them within the first couple of weeks. All it takes is 10 to 15 minutes of your time and effort for me every single day. And I know everybody has that because we scroll on our phones for hours. We do all kinds of things for hours. It's a 24-hour day. I will never believe, no matter what, that you don't have 10 to 15 minutes in your day to set aside for yourself. So what I do is I help people maximize that 10 to 15 minutes. And when you realize the gains that you're getting just from that short amount of time, it becomes addictive. That 15 minutes, you will want it to become 30 minutes. You'll want it to become an hour over time. But it doesn't take that long. Yeah, just a little bit of movement, making sure you're spending time, getting the right ingredients for eating, making sure you turn off the machines just a few minutes before so you get that extra half hour of sleep. It just takes 10 to 15 minutes of effort to actually have life-changing results. And that's kind of what I like to do for people. That's what I specialize in.
Yeah, and I'm one who can sit back and go, yeah, I see all these things. Of course, it's through the scrolling.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you can have this body in 8 minutes a day, in 15 minutes a day. It's and suddenly it's just, I know the 15 minutes are there. I know there's the things, but sometimes it's like when I go for a walk, I may go walk for an hour, but I swear it feels like I'm taking an hour to get ready to go walk and an hour when I get back. And
Yeah.
so in my mind, it's like it's 3 hours to do that
Yeah.
1 hour walk.
Yeah. Accountability is very hard when it's just you.
Right.
This is also human nature. Accountability becomes exponentially easier when you are responsible for somebody else's time as well. So if I tell you tomorrow, Susanna, I'm coming to Portland and we're going to go on a walk and we're going to start the walk at this place at 6 p.m. I guarantee you'll be there on time. I guarantee it because
Right.
you're not going to allow our plan together to not work out because you took 3 hours to get ready, right? So it changes the way the brain functions when we have accountability for each other. Again, why people need coaches, why people pay for coaches, why people pay top dollar for coaches is because a coach is there to make sure that you are consistent with your routine. Discipline is doing the stuff we don't like doing consistently. That's all it is. And the people that are the most disciplined are the people that are the most successful. It's as simple as that. And I recognize and I will acknowledge that we don't want to be disciplined as a species. We want comfort and convenience. We're smart enough to do it. We're so smart as a species. We figured out how to use technology to our advantage. But that in itself can be a detriment when you rely on it too much. It's supposed to aid you. You're not supposed to be addicted to it. So it's easier with people, right? And that was one of the pillars I was telling you about is your community. If you can do more physical activity, more mental activity, more activity period within your community, the people that you trust, people in your circle, not only does it make your brain happier and your body stronger, but it increases your overall longevity. Your outlook on life will be a lot more positive. So in that 10 to 15 minutes, I always coach people into finding somebody, someone that they're going to interact with also. That's a very, very important thing. And a lot of people have these people already in their lives, your wives, your husbands, your, children, your friends, your family, cousins. We have lots of people in our circles. Reaching out and interacting with them is just so good for our own health. And as a side bonus, serendipitously, it's good for their health as well. You can be helping two people at the same time.
Again, everybody's back in now. Like there's Danielle,
Yeah, yeah.
and there's CJ.
There she is.
But it's like you said, having those people in your circles that you can touch base, that you can fall back on.
Yes.
And that is, it's more than just having that person that's with you. It's in some ways it's, I'm trying to think of the word that I really want. It just adds to life.
Yes. Yeah. I think people are afraid to ask for help because they think they are a burden. They don't want to be burdensome. But what I contend with you is the people in your circle that you trust the most, they would expect you to reach out to them when you need them. That is a sign that you are showing them you trust them. And this was hard for me growing up. I would have much rather given myself to somebody to help them than ever ask for help. And that was wrong. I was doing it backwards. And that really affected my mental health because I spread myself thin. I remember a lot happened. My parents were getting divorced the week before I was going to college, and I was leaving my family, and I was distraught. And so I would go anywhere, and anyone called, I was there. That's just who I was. And I'm here to tell you that's not a good thing. I needed to take care of me first before I was able to be in any kind of position to go to anyone. So it did hurt me. I fell into a depression. It was difficult, but what saved me was my community of people. They pulled me out of it. They were there every step of the way. I found my mentors, my teachers, my coaches. I started martial arts training. It all came together within a year, and I became exponentially better, a completely different human being than I would otherwise be. So I think today's talk, I think, is really important because of what recently transpired. That's why I kind of want to focus on the community aspect of health and wellness. It doesn't take a lot for you to text somebody, I miss you, I love you, I'm here for you. It doesn't take a lot to find somebody in, come see me, let's have dinner. It doesn't take a lot to hug somebody. It doesn't take a lot to kiss somebody. Here's some science for everyone. We have a feel-good chemical in our body called oxytocin, which we get from touch. And science has shown that if you hug somebody for 20 seconds or you kiss somebody for 6 seconds, it releases an incredible amount of oxytocin, which immediately makes the body and the brain feel better. Your outlook immediately changes. So when you're feeling down, all it takes is a 20-second hug, which that can seem like a lot. But even if it's not 20 seconds, even 5 to 10 seconds can be a huge, huge difference on how you function. So when you know you're not feeling right, it is your responsibility to reach out to your circle of people, that pillar, that community where you derive your strength from. That could be your parents, that could be your kids, that could be your siblings, cousins, friends, does not matter. You all have your people. And as I say this, you're all thinking of that person right now. I can feel it. We all have that person. Reach out to that person, right? Get that oxytocin, get that serotonin, get that dopamine. It's good for you and it's good for them. Don't think that when you need somebody, they're not getting anything out of it, right? Health is about community more so than the individual, right? We as individuals need to care for ourselves so that we become a community that functions and thrives together. And just as a side note, if you're noticing a lot of polarization, a lot of hatred, a lot of vitriol in society right now, I'm not here to turn this into a political talk, but as a guy that worked in politics a long, long time ago, I can tell you that's by design. We have more in common with each other, more unites us than divides us. And it's important to remember that regardless of where on the political spectrum you fall, just know when it comes to general human values, more unites us than divides us. So When we fight about things, when we fight about those two things we disagree on so wholeheartedly, and it turns violent and it turns hateful, just know that it was designed that way by the system, and somebody at the top of that system is benefiting from all that negativity that's coming toward you and from you. So part of community is also realizing that everybody can be part of our community. You don't have
Right.
to agree with everybody on it, on everything, but we can all agree on one thing, and that's we all want to have a better, more successful, much happier life, and we can achieve that together.
That's the importance of diversity.
Yes.
To me, I term it as, I focus on belonging.
Yeah.
I like the idea of belonging, because if you feel like you belong someplace, belong within a group, then if you want to play checkbox of DEI, you've checked all the boxes, because you're
Yeah.
in a place you feel like you belong. You you trust those around you enough to stop fortifying the walls that you've built around yourself.
Yeah.
In a business case, you can walk into a work environment, and if you feel like you belong, that if somebody finds out whatever it is you're masking, whatever you're hiding,
Mhm.
even if they come up and say, I hear this about you, you feel safe enough to say, whether it's true or not, it's really none of your business. Or yes or no or whatever.
Mhm.
And then you're more likely to interact with people at a deeper level. And when there's a problem in an organization, you're more likely to give what you see as being a great idea, without fear that to give that idea is to open a window for people to see what you're hiding, because that's the only way you might be able to come up with that idea.
Right. Yeah.
So if you're disabled, if you're neurodiverse, if you're LGBT, if you're, take your pick.
Right.
It can be race, it can be language, it can be all of that. If family issues, but sometimes those are the things that allow us to, because of that experience, to have an idea that will really help a business, a community, the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. Our diversity is our strength. Our community is our strength. If we were all the same exact person, we were all robots in a machine, go back to 1984, um, I don't think we get very far, right? I love hearing ideas that are not my own, things that I would have never thought of. It makes my brain stronger. It makes it better. Even if I disagree with you, you made me think about something. And the fact that I have to use my brain and work that muscle is immediately improving my health. Diversity is good. Disagreement is good. There's just a right way to do it. Uh, and that's what I think we need to remember again. And I
Right.
remember growing up in a world when I was a little kid where, you could disagree with people a lot better than I feel like we're doing these days. I think we're
You're right.
pulling away from that healthy aspect that once was a pillar and a very important uh, aspect of our culture. Let me put it this way: to hate someone is a lot more draining on you and on them than it is to love them. To smile at someone is a lot less draining than to frown at them. Uh, Kindness is a lot less draining than vitriol and hatred. Just by having positive energies and attitudes toward people, we are draining less of our own energies and resources, but we're actually instead enhancing them. On the contrary, um, you're going to live longer if you love more. You're going to live longer if you're happier. You're going to live longer if you're kinder, more compassionate, if you're willing to have a positive discussion. You're going to live longer and happier. Your body and brain are going to be more useful longer. So remember that. If you're feeling like you're just trapped in this vicious cycle right now, it's draining your life force. And that means you're in need of that transformation immediately. And don't worry, you're not alone. We all do to some degree or other. We all absolutely do. Um, you should never feel alone in these types of situations. Somebody else is feeling exactly what you're feeling. And there's a community of people actually that are feeling what you're feeling. And as a community, it's our responsibility to work through it together. So, yeah.
Well, and that takes me, as you're talking about that too, that takes me into just thinking back through the anthologies that
Yeah.
that we've done. Whether it's uh, now I'm on my third one working with Level Up Academy with CJ, Dr. Leland,
Yeah.
and everything you just said. That is the approach that we take for every anthology,
Yeah.
because every story is going to resonate with somebody. There's somebody out there waiting to read that story because they need it.
Yes.
They may not be in the exact same position or situation, but when they read your story,
Absolutely.
they see the connection, and that's really all that matters. The
I don't think it
yeah,
was by accident, Susanna, that our book became an international bestseller. I think there's a need to read those stories. I think there's something comforting when people see that, hey, somebody else has gone through what I went through. And on top of that, there's hope. They came out of it, and they came out of it for the better. I think it's a great service we're doing for the community. I was so privileged, proud to be part of that first one, the Thriving in the Gray Zone. But absolutely, I think everybody's experience can be a lesson. And while it's more of a heavier day, considering what happened with Jess
right,
Harvey, I think she would want exactly that. She would want us to find some sort of positive lesson and move forward from all of this. She's an incredible human being. For people that don't know, she would go to Africa regularly and work with the children there. That was one of her passion projects. And what a selfless human being. I immediately gravitated toward her, just, reading her chapter, first of all, but then, getting to know her and she does not say much about herself, but I like to also find out things. So it wasn't hard with her because everybody I spoke to had only nice things to say about her.
right.
And that's a lasting legacy. And I think, so that we don't lose her memory in vain, we continue the work and the passion that she had. And that means a community getting together and continuing to move forward and continuing to progress and continuing to help each other. We thrive together, right? I believe Dr. Leland said it's not about competition, right? It's
Yep.
about collaboration. So this is our opportunity. And there are plenty of people to collaborate with. There's somebody out there looking for you right now to move the needle in a positive direction. You just have to literally look, and you'll find somebody, multiple people. So I think that's one of the best lessons we can take from all of this is your health is not just about your own efforts. It's about your community's efforts and your effort toward your community. Make that a priority. I would recommend and suggest to everybody, your community of people, that is your health right there. Who you surround yourself with, that is your diet. What they are saying to you, what you are listening to, what you are watching. I recommend for a lot of people, stop watching the news. It's not good for your diet. It's going to make you upset. It's going to cause an ulcer. It's going to cause stress and anxiety. Guess what? That's bad for health. When your cortisol is spiking, your longevity is shrinking. So
Yeah, it's like just know enough to know what's going on and leave the rest of it alone. Because it's there's so much out there that it really does feel like it's designed to create tension and
100%.
frustration and
Discord.
discord.
Yeah. Somebody is benefiting from the discord that they incite. Always remember that. Somebody is getting more power, more wealth, more influence from sowing discord, because fear is the easiest motivator. I just saw Dr. Leland saying I'm drinking
Exactly.
more water. Love you, Dr. Leland. You're going to live longer than all of us. But yes, fear is the greatest motivator, and people who are intelligent weaponize that. But if we can acknowledge and realize that that's the case, and we don't fear things as much, we will progress, right? It was FDR that said the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. And when you really think about what he's saying, Once you can get past your natural instincts of fear, look, I'll put it this way. We're all still here. We're all still thriving. If you put it into perspective, think about people all around the world. We're doing better than 95, 98, 99% of them. And yet still we have so much fear, so much worry, so much hatred, so much vitriol. Why? It's part of the design of the system. Once you can eliminate that from your system using there's so many different techniques to do it. And you can find anybody that knows simple tips, tricks, techniques. Drink water. Dr. Leland just talked about, wake up and drink water. You will immediately have a resurgence of serotonin and dopamine in your system. It lubricates your system. Just drinking 24 ounces of cold water will immediately make your brain and body feel better. I do it every morning, 24 to 32 ounces. Simple tips and tricks. Get some sunlight. When light hits your retina, it immediately sends a signal to the brain to release serotonin into your system, your feel-good chemical, right? Dopamine into the system. There's so many little simple things you can do just to feel better. And when your day starts off better, you're going to be more productive. And the people that come around you during that day, your energy is going to be infectious, and they're going to have better days, and they're going to be more productive. It's the butterfly effect. From boxes to butterflies, we should talk about the butterfly effect. One kind word that you say, one kind action that you make, just one kind emotion or energy that you portray can have life-changing effects on everybody that you come across in a day. So,
well, and I like that, because I don't really use that particular one.
yeah.
But it is just as important, because that fits the butterfly who flaps its wings in Thailand, creates a typhoon or a hurricane in Florida.
Yeah.
That's that one good word. And I don't think about it so much, because I've always thought about it just in that weather context. Because for me, the butterfly effect, and this is how I connected with CJ in the first place, it all goes back to A Sound of Thunder is a short story by Ray Bradbury. It's a time travel story. The whole idea is to go back in time and change anything, no matter how small. And in this case, somebody stepped on a butterfly. And when they got back to the present, there was a change.
Yes.
So I look at my life. I'll take the dancer here. I look at my life and go, I know all the traumas and all the crap that I dealt with, but I would not go back and change anything, because all of that is what made me who I am today. And when I can look in the mirror and be happy with who I see, which I couldn't for so long, why would I want to risk changing anything and thereby change the present?
100%. If I hadn't experienced the childhood I experienced, I would probably be a doctor somewhere or a lawyer somewhere. But I just feel so grateful that I get to help people empower themselves the way somebody helped me empower myself. Somebody looked after my health, my fitness, my wellness, my ability. I can't tell you what it feels like when you wake up one day and you actually say to yourself, I can actually protect myself. I can defend myself. Nobody's ever going to hurt me or those that I love ever again. That's a great, great feeling. But up until that point, the majority of my life was spent feeling the exact opposite, right? Lots of fear, lots of worry. Empowerment, I think, is the secret to positive mental health. Those with mental health issues, and by the way, let me just say, we all experience mental health issues at one point or other in our lives. It is to be human. You are not alone if you're experiencing a mental health issue, and it's not taboo to have to talk about it or want to talk about it or to seek help. Very important to do so. The sooner the better, obviously. And there are many, many routes you can take to achieve successful mental health. But there is a slight decline in mental health as of lately. And I think that comes down to really not feeling empowered enough, whether that's physically, mentally, psychologically, economically, socially. There are a lot of reasons why people do not feel empowered. But if we can get the conversation going if we can work together to find solutions, I think that goes away a lot faster than we realize. So it's just really about having conversations like this. That's actually the first step. Anyone who's watching and is resonating with this, their mental health is improving by the second as we discuss this. And that's how I know that we're doing the right thing and we're talking about the right thing, and it makes all of this worth it. Even if I never come across anybody ever again after this, somebody out there heard what we were talking about and it made sense to them and it motivated them to get up and do something to improve their health. That's worth it to me.
Yeah. And CJ, at one point, she's like, talk about jealousy a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
Because we see that in many different ways, shapes, and forms.
Yeah.
And I know there's some people out there that you hear negativity and you can only sit back and go, why are they being that way?
Mm-hmm.
Why are they trying to tear somebody else down?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, many studies have been done on this. I'm reminded of a study that was done a while back where they brought kids into a room and they gave everybody one cookie except for one person. They gave that child 2 cookies. And these are kids that had nothing. They all had a cookie and they were all excited until the one person that had the 2 cookies, and they got very upset. They were more upset that the other person had 1 extra cookie than before they walked into the room and when they had nothing. So sometimes it's a perspective thing, but we as a species tend to compare ourselves to our neighbors, right? It doesn't matter if, you were able to close on a wonderful condo, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, da 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 da. If your friend comes up to you and says, "Oh, well, I just closed on a house, 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms," the natural tendency is to compete and compare. And so now you're no longer satisfied with what you have. It actually makes you feel worse. And that's a tendency that I think humans need to break from. There's nothing wrong with being happy for somebody's success. Somebody's success does not affect you one way or another. It's something you need to realize. If anything, it might affect you positively in that it's a motivator, you know? But being happy for others tends to be really difficult for so many reasons. We want more when we see somebody with more, but sometimes we forget the actual lesson, which is we had less and now we have a little bit more than we used to. It doesn't matter that somebody has even more than I do. I'm doing better than where I was 5 minutes ago. So I think when we bring the focus back onto ourselves and our own goals and not worry so much about what's going on with the rest of the world around us, I think that's when we make the most personal internal gains. And when you can wrap your head around that, when your mindset can change to that, you become a really, really bright beacon for all of those around you. That's the energy people need to be around.
Right.
And I was that kid. Growing up in elementary school, it hurt me when somebody else got favorable treatment over me. It didn't matter if I received something. Somebody got more favorable treatment, it affected me. It wasn't fair. But as I got older, I started to realize you're doing better than you used to. You're getting more than you used to. That's what the focus should be on, right? So take a single cookie because it's better than no cookies, right? And if you happen to be the fortunate individual that gets 2, count your blessings. But remember that everybody in that room won. Everybody was winning. Everybody won something. So it's a personal journey. Focus on the internal. Focus on your internal. Be mindful of yourself and your feelings, and you'll be a lot happier, a lot healthier. Believe me, a lot healthier.
Oh yeah, it's like let it go, and that is one of the problems right now.
Mm-hmm.
And social media really helps
Amplify.
Yeah, that's really the word that I wanted, is that amplify, because number one, too many people, they go in and all they do is show what they've made, what they're doing, what they only show the good stuff. They don't talk about the bad. They
Yeah.
only and I know there are cases where people will go out and hire
Mm-hmm.
a plane or a car or something so they can stage the photos to make it look like
Yeah.
when they don't. That it's not what they have, what they do.
It's artificial. It's contrived. Yeah.
It's yeah. And
Yeah.
when we start sitting here just focusing on what they have instead of and on top of that, we don't know what they went through. If it all is true, we don't know what
Yeah.
they went through to get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, one thing I tell people, considering since we're talking about communities, you don't know the other person's journey. We do make a lot of assumptions. We make a lot of assumptions. We make a lot of judgments. And I think that's a root cause of why there's so much unhappiness and so much divide. You haven't walked even an inch in the other person's shoes, let alone a mile or 10 miles or 100 miles. And everybody's going through something. So from an internal standpoint, I try to have grace. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. I try to cut them some slack. I'm human. It's not always going to work out the way I intend for it to happen, but it's something to constantly remind myself and remind the people that I work with. Not every single human you interact with is going to like you or love you. Somebody is going to have a problem with you, right? My answer to that is you're probably doing something right. If some people don't like you, it means that you're getting some notoriety, you're getting noticed, your efforts are getting noticed. I know Dr. Leland goes through this. That woman works incredibly hard and connects so many people. I've never seen anybody move like she does, actually. And while the vast majority of people, myself included, are huge fans of hers, there's no doubt she's going to get some vitriol and some negativity from people. And I would just say this, Dr. Leland, keep drinking that cold water and don't worry about it. Brush it off. You're doing something right, obviously, because you're changing lives for the better. And somebody who is unhappy or jealous or can't do the things that you do or wants to compete but can't, or whatever insecurities they have, they will find a reason. You're never going to be able to convince them otherwise until they look internally and figure out what they need for themselves to improve. So you keep doing you and you keep inspiring people all around you. And I think you'll see the world the needle starts slowly moving in the right direction, one person at a time. And that's really what it is. You can't change an entire community all at once overnight. It's literally going to take time and effort. It's one person at a time. I work with individual clients month after month, year after year. It's day in and day out. It's work, it's consistency. But you know what? You start seeing the results little bits at a time, in a week, in 2 weeks, in 3 months, 6 months, a year. And before you know it, you're going to wake up and be like, wow, I am a completely different person. And it's not that I drastically changed anything crazy in my life, but it's just tiny little things, the mundane details, the little things, the little details, the little things that we structure into our day. When you're consistent with those, it makes the overall picture just so much more successful. You'll be so much more satisfied, so much happier with your results. That's your flow state. You achieve true and complete flow when you focus on those little things and immerse yourself into your routine, into your structure.
It's like, okay, so she's talking the karaoke and
Yeah.
and she already knows. She already knows because she followed up with this, and I've told her because I tell her I don't sing in public. I don't.
That's okay. That's all
I,
right.
I am not there. Except then I sent her. I did do a short happy birthday song that I gave only to her.
Wonderful.
But she's the only person, and that's why we connect so well. It's like part of it is trust.
Yeah.
You've got that trust in the community.
Yes.
When you can trust somebody, you know they've got your back.
Yes.
She's the one person. When I think back through my whole life, one person I truly feel has my back.
Yeah, that's an amazing feeling, and you're very lucky, Susanna. A lot of people, they don't get there. I talk, a lot of clients I work with, I ask them, who's the one person you can trust with any secret of yours without fear of judgment? And most people I work with, they say, no one, not my husband, not my wife, no one. There are things that I'm going to take to the grave with me. Think about how heavy a feeling that is, knowing that You can't be you in your community of people because of fear of judgment. And I would say constantly communicate with your circle. You'd be surprised how understanding people actually are. Sometimes I think we just project this insecurity and fear. Sometimes it is absolutely called for because of previous experiences. We've all been through them where you just know never to do that next time because it ended so badly. I would contend open dialogue, communication with your community. There are things inside all of us we don't necessarily care to share, and nor should we if we don't want to.
No,
That is your right. Uh,
exactly.
but when you find that person where you can give the unabridged version to without fear, that's a great feeling. That's a person who's with you to the end. That's your that's a soulmate right there. And that's so good for you, right? The things that it does for your mind, your heart, your spirit, everybody's internal spirit, those are people that, be very grateful for those people. If you're listening out there and you have that person where you can give the unadulterated truth to, without fear, hold on to that person. In fact, ring that person up, let that person know how grateful you are for them. And for the rest of you, find that person. That person's probably closer than you think. Open dialogue. You'd be surprised how understanding people are in this community, in every community.
Yeah. And for me, it's like, I have it. And it's the person that I can tell anything from my story.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
And it's the person who will push me beyond my own comfort zone
Yes. Absolutely.
and knows, but here's the thing, they know how to do it. It's
Mhm.
because anybody can just push you. It's like, oh, just push them into the water, let them swim, they'll figure it out. No.
Yeah.
That's not the same. It's like they give you the gentle push, but you know it's coming,
Yeah.
and you accept it, and that makes it a whole lot easier to do something new.
Yeah. No, absolutely. When I wrote my chapter for the anthology, I had a friend, look at it real fast, I wanted to know because this friend of mine knows everything about me. And her reaction was, is this not maybe a little too much oversharing for a first chapter and I said, no. I was like, to know me is to know where I came from. The difference is I'm not ashamed of what I went through. I used to be, but I'm no longer. It's what shaped me. It's how I ended up in a gray zone in the first place and figured out how to thrive in that gray zone. I am a product of my environment, not just my genetics.
Yep.
And for somebody to really know what I'm writing and to know me, they have to know the unvarnished truth. I'm not at all ashamed of my past. It made me who I am, and I think it's going to be beneficial for both me and anybody I come across going forward. So the future is a much, much better place because I endured what I did in the past. I'm not ashamed of it. But if you had met me 10, 15, 20 years ago, I absolutely would have. I would have built you this beautiful portrait of my life and how wonderful it is and how perfect everything is going. And that's just not realistic. But we grow up, we learn, we figure things out. And sometimes saying things out loud, or writing it down on paper, even the difficult things, it can be cathartic. It can be very helpful. So going back to health, it was a healthy experience for me to write those things on paper and to share them with not just the group of authors that I was privileged to be with, but also everybody that bought the book and read the book. Each one of those chapters it's a story in itself. It could be a story all by itself. But the fact that there were 27 individual chapters with 27 unique stories, again, I'm not surprised that it became an international bestseller.
Well, and on top of that, just to kind of closing things up because we've crossed the hour mark. It happens all the time.
Time flies.
um, but it's like when we do these books. So
Mhm.
CJ started it with Beyond Boundaries. I
Mhm.
did it with Moving Beyond Boxes. It's going to happen with Rebel with a Cause.
Yes.
The chapters are not just stuck in willy-nilly. It's not based on alphabetical. It's not based on who showed up first. It's not based on the publisher just likes this person better than that person, or whatever.
Yeah.
The stories are put in specifically to align with the book.
Yeah.
And what I love to say is the soul of each chapter is what creates the soul of the book, because that
Yeah.
book has its own soul. And what
Yes.
I've never been able to really decide on is the soul of the book bigger than the chapters, or the soul of each chapter bigger than the book? Because they
Yeah.
all have that impact. And
Yeah.
writing, and just the writing itself, like you said, um, there's an emotional, and I've been through this with everything I've written. It is actually growth. It's an
Yes.
ability to
Yeah.
let go of things that have been churned up. And sometimes when we write, we get things from the past that we forgot about.
Yes.
And the minute it hits us, it's like, oh crap.
Yeah, I would say the soul of the book that we wrote is the sum of its chapters. Individually, the soul of each chapter is powerful by itself, I would say, but together, I think it just brings another experience. I think people who read it, I myself, reading all of your chapters, took me to another dimension, and I felt part of something that I didn't know I was part of a lot more after reading all of them, right? Because when you're going on your individual journey, it can be a lonely trek.
Uh-huh.
But reading all of your chapters, I realized same type of journey, just, different footwear, for lack of a better phrase. Everybody's got their thing, and they worked through it, and they became stronger, more empowered, better. Growth, development. It was just a beautiful thing to read. It's been my privilege to be a part of it with all of you. Yeah, just it's important for people to, as a last note to anybody that's watching, be the change you seek. And if you need help getting to that stage, that's what coaches are for. Give me a call. I can show you the steps. But never be satisfied, right? Be the change that you seek. We all know how we want to improve, and we all know how we'd like to see the world improve, right? It starts with you. Take those first steps, and then everybody you surround yourself, realizing that you're taking those steps, it's infectious, it's contagious. You're going to make so many people more motivated, more disciplined, more consistent in their daily routines. And then that's going to spread exponentially to all the people in their circles. And this is how we positively make change in the world. The butterfly effect.
Well, and you did just what I was going to ask you to right there, is that last golden nugget, and you had it lined up, ready to go. And here's a case where we don't always get to know how our chapters affect somebody, but here's one where your chapter made a big difference in somebody's life in Dubai.
I'm grateful. Like I said, if even one person is positively affected by my story or any interaction, indirect or direct, by me, the whole thing was worth it. It motivates me and inspires me to continue my work. I want to work with as many people as humanly possible, whether I ever get to meet you in person, shake your hand or not, whether you just read something I wrote somewhere or saw, a quick tidbit that I put on social media or on, one of my platforms. I'm wonderful. I'm grateful for anybody that takes the time.
Well, and that's kind of my last question, is just making sure you let everybody know how to find you, where to find you.
Yeah. Social media is the best right now. I'm in the middle of a rebrand at the moment, so website is on its way. But if you want to find me on LinkedIn, Instagram at Harsha Dandamudi, and I can put these in a chat somewhere if you want to put them somewhere, Susanna.
Yeah, you can put it. You can put it in the chat when this is done. Just go back to the original.
I'll put in the chat for anybody that's interested. I like to put little tidbits about just my experiences as a coach, as a martial artist, as a trainer, things that I've learned over the years, things that work for me. Feel free to try them. Interact with me. Let me know how they work for you. If there's subjects or topics people want me to talk about, please do. I may not look it, but I promise you, I'm an extremely experienced individual. I am in my 40s. I've been doing this stuff for nearly a quarter of a century, like I said. I do have experience. I do have knowledge. I poured myself into this since I was a teenager. Let me be of service. Let me be of help to you if you need it. I know a lot of people do. So I'll put my social media handles in there. I've got TikTok, I've got Instagram, obviously LinkedIn. I've got a lot of followers, which I'm really grateful for. I think I hit the 5-figure mark recently. So thank you all for your support. But if you need any extra work, or you need a consultation, or you just need to reach out, I'm here, I'm around. So I'll throw those in the chat, and you guys can do with it what you will.
Yeah, no, I love it. And me, I got 2 decades on top of you. So
Amazing. Amazing.
because I hit 60 next year.
No way. Wow. See, you don't look it. And that's an indication that your biological longevity far exceeds your chronological. That's very impressive.
It also attests to the mental aspect.
Yeah.
When you feel good, when you feel right.
Yeah.
I think I can almost see that over the last 5 years, I've actually gone backwards in age.
That's amazing. That's the goal. That's the key.
I
That's
need to be
really
more active,
the
but
holy grail that everybody's after, the fountain of youth. But you would be surprised how easy it is to reverse the aging process. I've been studying it extensively. I've been training it extensively. Combination of food, diet, movement, Tai Chi, life-changing for reversing the clock. Anybody that does Tai Chi, you will like freeze in time. I've got people that I've been working with for a decade and a half, and they look exactly the same today as they did when they first dropped in on my doorstep. And they're like in their 80s now, still looking like they're 60. It's pretty impressive. So yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it was great having you. I'm looking forward to next week because I can see my guest for next week in the chat. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I will see everybody next week. Talk to you all later. Bye.
Take care.